Welcome to today's episode. Today I am interviewing Christina Mattison. Christina is a corporate girl turned yoga teacher. And after a lot of unhappiness, she decided to leave full-time work and pursue entrepreneurship and helping and healing others through yoga. Hi, Christina. Thanks for being here today.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
It's my absolute pleasure. So, let me know, how did I go with that introduction? Is there anything else you would like to add or adjust?
No, I think it's great. I think the only thing I would add is that I'm also a mom. I have a little girl, she's almost 3. And so, trying to make good choices for my family has played a huge role in my transition from the corporate world to entrepreneurship.
Amazing. Yeah. Oh, that's such a beautiful age as well. Just around that age. Yeah, my son's 4 and then I have a 7-month-old. So, um, yeah, right in there with you. And it's a real interesting juggle, I have to say, but so worth it.
Absolutely.
So before we jump in, I always love to ask this question. It's my favorite question to start. So how do you start your day?
Great question. I try to wake up early. I'm successful most days. I sometimes I have a little bit of a sleep in, but most of the times I get up between 5:30 and 5:45, and I immediately put on my workout clothes, and that's my number one priority is to move, either exercise or doing yoga. I have to knock it out first thing in the morning, otherwise it doesn't happen.
Mm.
After I work out, I normally make coffee and then I try to have some quiet time, whether that's journaling or prayer or reading my Bible. I just try to make some time for quiet. Again, I'm not perfect at it. And after that, try to fit in maybe a little bit of work before my daughter wakes up. And once she wakes up, it's game on.
Yeah. Um, that's amazing. It sounds like you manage to generally fit in quite a lot before your little one gets up. Um,
Try to.
yeah, that's so amazing. I find that now because my baby's so little, I don't really have my morning starts like I'm used to. I'm starting to get them in kind of every second morning now, but yeah, I used to as well. My son was such a great sleeper that I'd always manage to get up and have plenty of time to do all the things. It was so amazing. I can't wait to get back to that more
Yeah.
consistently. Um, and so, what compelled you to become a yoga teacher and meditation teacher?
To be honest, it was somewhat accidental. I experienced yoga for myself the first time around 8 years ago. I didn't get serious about it until probably about 5 years ago. I was formerly in the military and I was on a deployment, and it was a really stressful time for me. And my roommate dragged me to a yoga class, and it was a packed room. And I'm like, this is going to be boring. Yoga is not a real workout. And I tell you what, by the end, I was so sweaty, but I felt incredible. And I kept going back and going back. And each time at the end, the Shavasana, laying on your back at the end of the class, was just the best.
Mm.
And once I got back from the deployment, I was like, I have to know more. I have to take it deeper. I need to learn everything there is to know. And I signed up for teacher training, more to just deepen my own personal knowledge and practice than to become a teacher. But once I started teaching, I was like, this is great. Teaching was part of the teacher training. Obviously, you have to practice teach. And I was just like, I love this so much. So for several years, it was just a hobby, something that I did in my spare time. But last year, I decided that it was something that I wanted to pursue full time. And I wanted it to be my all the time job. And it's been the greatest decision, getting to share my love and passion with others, getting to see others be healed and experience, the same wonderful transformative effects that I got to experience when I discovered yoga for the first time.
Mm, amazing. And so, what is the legacy you're here to leave?
That's a tough question. It's not necessarily about being a famous yoga teacher or everybody knowing my name. That's not it at all. For me, it's like if I can help one person to live a better life, to, you know, overcome or become more powerful in dealing with anxiety, or, you know, healing chronic pain, or feeling more confident within their bodies. If I could just help one person to make that transformative change, then I'll know that I've left a positive impact in the world. And that's, I think, what was important to me about leaving the corporate world to pursue yoga. I was sitting, my old job, I just sat behind a desk and I worked construction projects all day, and I'm like, who am I helping? How am I
Mm,
changing the world? And it didn't feel like I was being fulfilled in my job. And now I do feel like I'm able to find that fulfillment through helping others. So I guess that would be the legacy that I'd like to leave, is a legacy of using my life to help others, and using what I love to help others feel better in their bodies and feel better in their minds.
yeah, I understand that. That really resonates for me because I remember I used to work at a casino, in the like maintenance department, and it was really um not filling my cup. And it wasn't like there was no meaning, and it wasn't moving for me. And just, being in this industry and helping people, just one person actually seeing the shifts that occur for them and the transformation that happens, it means so much. And I totally love that you just said just one person, because you never know, like, what effect you can really deeply have on just one individual. So I really resonate with what you said then. Um, and what's like a hurdle that you've personally faced, and how did you overcome that?
I would say that my biggest hurdle that I'm in the process of overcoming is my anxiety. It's something that I have dealt with for years, and there have been times where it has definitely kind of run the show, and I've felt like I was a victim to it. And yoga has kind of helped me take it back, like take my own life back. And
Mm,
now I have, the tools when I feel, that panic attack coming on, or I feel, that feeling of anxiety in my body, however it manifests that day, I'm more aware of it and I know it's coming. So I can take the steps that I need to take in order to either mitigate, shorten, or stop it altogether. So I won't say that I've totally overcome it. It's something that I still deal with on a fairly regular basis, but I feel like I'm more capable and I'm not so much of a victim to it. I
mm.
feel like I have some power again.
Yeah, amazing. And anxiety can be such a big one. And I love how you've brought yoga in to support that. Um and I'd love you to share more about that, about how yoga and meditation can really support the mind, the body, and the spirit. Um yeah, if you want to speak to that a little bit.
Sure. So, um, there's so much that yoga can do, because yoga is not just the poses. Some people see yoga as just, a series of poses that we do and then we leave, and then, you may feel relaxed for a little while and your body feels like it got to work out. But, really, yoga poses, known as asana, is really one of the 8 limbs of yoga. Um, with most of the practice of yoga being centered around prepping the body for meditation, prepping the mind for meditation. So I really like the science of yoga. I like the science of meditation, and how it actually affects the brain and the nervous system, and the different systems of the body. So for me, yoga started out as a physical practice. You know, it made me feel strong. It made me feel like I could do things that I wasn't able to do before. Um, and then it also made me feel really calm and relaxed afterwards. My body kind of just felt like a puddle on the floor after a challenging class. And so it helped me with my strength. It helped me with my flexibility. It helped me with areas of pain, like low back pain and shoulder pain. But then I started to get deeper into yoga, and I started understanding more of the deeper practices. And for me, one of the things that I've been kind of thinking a lot about lately is the awareness that yoga allows us to have, not just awareness of the body, because a lot of people are chronically detached from their body, which comes from, you know, years and years of disassociation. It comes from years of neglecting your body's needs, comes from years of, you know, just muscling through it, if you will. But we also kind of become detached from our own minds. We let our thoughts control us and our emotions run the show. And the awareness that yoga brings, you know, being kind of stepping into the role of the observer and watching the thoughts and noticing the emotions and just kind of allowing them to play out and allowing them to just be what they are instead of trying to change them or control them has been really powerful for me, especially in the last couple of months, in kind of getting in touch with who I am rather than who I thought I was or who I was supposed to be.
Mm.
So I think that that can be really healing, you know, that opportunity for quiet, that sitting in meditation. Yes, it's difficult at first because the mind is programmed to just spin and spin and spin and think and think and think. But the more we come back to it, the more we practice, the more of a shift we begin to notice, and the quieter the mind is able to get faster.
Mm.
So the healing power of that quietness, that stillness, that kind of just awareness of the body and awareness of the thoughts can create large shifts for people and help people, including me, deal with things such as anxiety. You know, just the deep breathing alone associated with yoga can be a great tool for creating shifts in the nervous system and really soothing the the heart rate, soothing blood pressure, you know, lowering the cortisol levels in the body. So the practice, I mean, I could go on and on, obviously, about how powerful the practice can be. But you know, I think if people will give it a chance, or you know, just release any expectations of being good at it the first time,
Mm.
um, and just realizing that it's a practice. You know, you come back to it every day, not to perfect it, but to practice it. There is no perfecting yoga. You know, you just come back to it over and over again.
Yeah, amazing. Can you just go back a little bit and just explain what the 8 limbs are?
Sure. You're putting me on the spot a little bit, but so there's the first two that that are discussed in the Yoga Sutras, which is a very ancient text that are, it's kind of like the foundation of yoga.
Mm.
There's the yamas and the niyamas, which are more personal things. Like examples of some of them would be like non-stealing, or practicing cleanliness, or non-violence. You know, these
Mm.
actions that we take within ourselves and that we actions that we take within the world. So those are the first two. The third limb is asana, which is what most people think about when we say the
Yeah.
word yoga. The fourth limb is pranayama, which is breathing, the breathing techniques that we practice in yoga. That's one of the limbs. So those are the first four. The second four are kind of a little bit more focused on the meditation aspect. So I'd have to look them up to give you the
Yeah,
exact
sure.
name, but they kind of refer to like the stages of
Mm.
meditation. So I know one of them is sense withdrawal. One of them is connection with source, or really kind of meditating without thinking. And then the last
Mm,
limb is bliss, which is when you've achieved, after years and years of your meditation practice, you achieve this state of bliss, which is said to be when you are truly connected with universal consciousness. And I think that a lot of people may strive for that, but that's something that may not be totally achievable in the modern world. Some people may be able to get there, but it's more of like, something that we think about. But in the modern day world, we don't have hours and hours every day to
mm,
meditate anymore the way the ancient monks did. That was their job, was to meditate all day every day. And so obviously that's based on a different time, a different culture. But again, that's kind of what yoga is based around, is working towards that state of bliss.
yeah, amazing. And so how can yoga really help people? I know you've spoken to this a little bit about in regards to anxiety and stuff, but in like a broad sense.
Sure. I mean, there's so much. If you want like a lower impact exercise, just to start with, if you need something that's lower impact, you like your knees hurt when you run, or your body doesn't handle, those hit workouts anymore, then yoga is a great option. It's also great for pain. People that struggle with low back pain, muscle and neck tension, which is common with chronic stress. People that have a lot of tightness. Years of chronic stress can lead to a chronic tightening of muscles throughout the body, which includes a tightening of the fascia, which is the web that kind of connects everything in our body together. So yoga is wonderful for releasing that fascia that may have become tight over time. So physically, yoga can help with pain, flexibility, strength, building that muscle stability around joints, which allows us to function better in our lives. It's also great for posture, strengthening the core through yoga, and the postural muscles helps us to stand and sit straighter. And then mentally, it gives that sense of calm, the relaxation, which can be hard for people to find sometimes in their busy, busy lives. We're so go, go, go in the modern world. So taking 30 to 60 to even 90 minutes for yoga is like that beautiful space of stillness in their day, which can really help lower your overall stress levels. And lowering your stress levels can have effects on other systems in the body. It can increase your immune function. It can increase your digestive function. If you're chronically stressed and you have tummy trouble, guess what? They're probably related.
Mm,
It can increase your sleep quality. What else? It can help you with depression and anxiety. It can regulate hormone levels within the body. Lower your cortisol levels. And then spiritually, yoga can be whatever you need it to be in the spiritual realm. If you believe in God like I do, it's an opportunity for prayer and stillness. If you believe in a higher power or universal consciousness, then it's that opportunity to connect with that higher power, and to connect with universal consciousness. So no matter what you believe, there is an opportunity within yoga. And that's another thing that I wanted to mention, is yoga is not a religion. Yoga is just a practice that was
mm,
had some foundational roots within a certain religion, but it is not a religion that you have to practice. It's just an opportunity for you to make it what you need to make it, and practice spirituality in whatever realm of spirituality you believe in.
yeah. And what's the connection between yoga and self-care?
You know, Yoga is my self-care. It's,
Mm,
something that I do for myself. I try to practice 3 to 4 times a week. Now that I'm teaching much more regularly, technically I do yoga more, but it's important for me to have my own practice, my own time to tune into my body, ask my body, what do you need today? Do you need something energizing and uplifting, or do you need something really slow and soothing and calming? So, tuning into my body in and of itself is a practice of self-care. I used to be that person that just, no matter how I felt that day, I was going to get up and I was going to hit it hard. No matter how much it hurt, no matter how much my body didn't want it, I was going to go for that long run, or I was going to do that high impact workout and just kind of ignore the cries of my body. And so yoga has taught me to better listen, even though I'm not always super great at listening. My body would be like, maybe vinyasa isn't such a great idea today. Maybe you need restorative, or maybe you need, a slow, gentle flow. And for me also, my mind is just a busy bee. I'm all over the place all the time, always working, always thinking, always planning. You should see my planner. It's ridiculous. And so yoga is like the one time I take to just be still and to shut up during the week. My brain gets to kind of tune out and just kind of melt away for a minute. And for me, that is a powerful version of self-care, because I am such a type A personality that's always going, always achieving, always doing. And yoga allows me to just be. And, if you're someone that needs that opportunity to just be still, to just be present, to just be in the moment, then yoga is a great way to practice self-care, because you're giving your body that care by stretching and strengthening. You're giving your mind that care through the meditation, through the breathing, and then you're giving your spiritual self that self-care as well by giving yourself the opportunity to connect to your deeper core, to connect with your heart and your soul, and to connect with whatever higher power you believe in. So I think that it's kind of a holistic approach to self-care, where you hit the mental, spiritual, and physical all in one practice.
Yeah. And so someone kind of starting out who hasn't done a lot of yoga, would you suggest starting with the yoga practices or with meditation? Like, which would come first?
I think it probably depends on the person. I would say that, based on the foundations and the origination of yoga, the physical practice was the preparation for the meditation. And you don't have to do much, you don't have to do a 60-minute practice, but sometimes moving the body, especially if you struggle to sit still and to sit quietly, if the thought of sitting still for 20 minutes freaks you out, then start with the yoga, start with the asana practice, because that movement, even if it's just a slow, seated, gentle flow, just the simple act of the conscious breathing and the movement in the body is going to help slow everything down and kind of settle you and ground you. That's going to be able to prepare you for meditation. So if you're just starting out, maybe don't go for the 90-minute practice. Maybe just start with 10 minutes of movement, and then try 2 to 5 minutes of just breathing. You don't even have to meditate, using air quotes when I say meditate. Just sit still and breathe in and breathe out, because that's the first step, is just being present with your breath. I think that's the first step to meditation. So if someone's totally new to the practice of yoga, I would say just do some gentle moving and stretching first, and then set your timer on your phone for like 2 minutes. And for those 2 minutes, try to just breathe in slow through the nose, breathe out slow through the nose. And I think after those 2 minutes, you'll be surprised. You're like, holy cow, that flew by. Like, that went by so fast. And then you just, you increase the number of minutes every couple of days. And before you know it, you'll have a meditation practice.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did with my meditation practice. I started with like a minute, and I added seconds every day until I got to like half an hour or something. And it took me time, but it made it easy and enjoyable as well. Like, I didn't scare myself into it and get this fear come up, because it was so easy to just build on. It didn't feel like it was a hard thing. Yeah. And are there any, I guess it may be hard to like speak to in words, but any like a simple practice someone could do at home just to start?
Sure, like a physical yoga practice
Yeah,
or like
yeah.
a meditation
Like
practice?
a physical yoga
Yeah,
one.
I mean, I think you could even do it like sitting in your chair. So for example, you sit tall in your chair. We want to create length in the spine so that we have space to breathe. And really, this is kind of the sequence that I do at the beginning of most of my gentle yoga classes. I take my arms up overhead and I stretch my hands up towards the ceiling, while at the same time pressing down through my sit bones. And that allows me to kind of stretch through the fronts of my shoulders. And then I take a gentle twist in both directions. So I turn to the left, sitting tall, and then I turn to the right, sitting tall. And that kind of stretches and rotates the spine. And then you can come into a lateral side bend. So reach one arm up and overhead, coming into kind of that half moon shape with your upper body. And then do the same thing on the second side. And then come back to center. You could even take like a seated cat-cow. Cat-cow is like my all-time favorite pose. And you just arch through the spine, drawing the heads of the shoulders back, opening through the chest, rocking forward on your tailbone. And as you exhale, you tuck your tailbone under your seat, rounding through the spine and spreading the shoulder blades, chin into chest. Just move back and forth between those poses 2 or 3 times. And that alone, that's like 5 or 10 minutes of gentle chair yoga. You just did yoga.
Yeah.
And you can do that at your desk. You can do that in your car while you're sitting in traffic if it's safe. Yeah, you can do that anywhere. And so yoga can really be done anywhere. Like I do standing yoga in my kitchen all the time. I'll be cooking and I'll just like stretch to one side, stretch to the other side, put my hands on the counter, fold in half, come into that 90-degree angle. And even that alone, that's the practice of yoga because I was moving my body mindfully.
Thank you for sharing that, because that's so accessible for people, and it can seem sometimes feel overwhelming, and that's a really great place to start. And really, so many people, I think there will be a lot of people listening that work in office jobs and at desks, and so for them, like, really useful to be able to move while they're still kind of at their desk and just give their body a break from that sitting hunched over position, so yeah, thank you.
Yes, sure.
And what makes you feel inspired or like your best self?
I would say that helping others, whether that be my yoga students or, my private clients, whether that just be, my friends, doing something for them, giving them encouragement, or I think also being present with my family is also when I'm at my best self, when I'm not, thinking and worrying about other things, but I'm just in the moment. I'm connecting with my husband, I'm connecting with my daughter. When same thing in a yoga class, when I'm connecting with my students. I think the word connect, it is probably when I feel like I'm my highest self, when I'm in the moment, I'm making significant connections with the people that I love and the people that I care for. I think that's when I'm probably at my best.
Amazing. And what are you curious about right now?
Ooh, that is a great question. Well, right now I'm curious about the business of yoga. I just launched my my small business this at the beginning of this past year. So I've been getting really curious about entrepreneurship and marketing, stuff that I never had any interest in
Yeah.
before until now. Figuring out how to do things online, website design, this is all brand new for me. I'm an engineer by trade, so I was always, focused on math and science. And now all of a sudden I'm trying to figure out how to be a small business owner. So I would say as far as like my business goes, that's what I'm curious about. In the yoga realm, I've been really curious about the fascia lately, which I mentioned earlier. I've been doing some myofascial release work and some reading. And so that's something that I'm getting really curious about, is how to therapeutically release the fascia within the body to alleviate chronic pain and get people back in proper alignment, which I think is really important. So yeah, I'd say those two things are the things that I've been most curious about lately.
And what are you reading right now?
Ooh, I I actually just started reading, I'm trying to remember the exact title. I think it's like You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero.
Uh-huh.
Are you familiar with that title?
Yeah. I'm reading her the money one. I've read that one, and I'm reading, she's got the You're a Badass at Making Money. So I'm reading that one right now. How are you finding it?
Nice. I need to read that one next. It's so funny. She's such a funny writer, and it's just a really easy read. The chapters kind of just fly by for me, and everything that she's saying is funny and witty and engaging and very relatable. So I would say I'm definitely enjoying it.
Good. And do you have a favorite book?
That is a great question. To be honest, I'm a huge Harry Potter nerd, and I could read the Harry Potter books over and over and over again. So I would say that whole series I'm obsessed with. It's not a fancy answer, and it's not a savvy businesswoman answer, but it's the truth.
Yeah. No, I love it. You know, someone else that I interviewed recently mentioned Harry Potter as well. So yeah, I love it. And who's your most impactful teacher?
Hmm. I think that I would have to give, so I actually just finished up my 500-hour yoga teacher certification, and I got the privilege of studying under Brett Larkin, and she's a pretty big name on YouTube. She's kind of one of those names in the yoga world that a lot of people know. And so I got to study with her and work with her, and to be honest, like, her knowledge of yoga is so deep, but her training program was so impactful, and I just learned so much in a short amount of time, especially considering that it was online. I felt like I was able to learn so much within, just 4 or 5 months studying under her. So even though, I've never met her in person, she's had a huge impact on my life. I definitely look up to her as a yoga teacher and as a businesswoman. She started her own business. She started out in corporate, and she created her own business off of YouTube, and then just grew it and grew it and grew it to the point where she's you know, taught hundreds of yoga teachers. And so, yeah, I would say that I'm very inspired by her as both a yoga teacher and an entrepreneurial woman.
Amazing. And what do you wish you'd know when you first started out on this journey?
I think that I wish I had known that it is a great thing to fail. So many people are very afraid to fail, especially in the world of small business and entrepreneurship. We're so afraid to fail or to put something out there and get crickets. But one of the things I've learned in the past couple of months through my yoga teacher training and through some of the business training that I've been doing is fail fast. Like, just do it. Take imperfect action all the time and learn from the failure, because you're going to fail your way to success. It sounds so cliche, like Thomas Edison failed, this many times before he invented the light bulb. But it's so true. You just have to try things and see what works and see what works for you. I wish I had known that early on, because I think I spent a lot of time being scared of um, admitting what I wanted, and being afraid to put myself out there and tell people, yeah, I'm going to quit my job to be a yoga teacher. And, I felt like everyone was going to be like, oh, that's so
Mm.
dumb, or whatever. And so I wish I had known earlier that it's okay. You don't have to get it right the first time or the second time or the third time. You just keep failing your way to success, and don't worry about what other people think, because if it's what you love to do, then it's all that matters.
Mm. Um, and what would you say to her? Say to that fresh new you?
At the beginning of my yoga journey,
Mm.
oh man, I think I would, I think I would, I don't think I would even tell her to make the change earlier, because I think I needed to make the career change at the exact time that I made it.
Mm.
But, I think that I would tell fresh yoga me to just enjoy every single moment, and to be present, and to not worry so much about the future, because the future is what the future is going to be, and worrying over it is not going to add any more time to your life or change anything or make you better. It's just going to drain and deplete you, when you could be present and just enjoying exactly what you're experiencing for what it is. And as I say this, this is something that I constantly struggle with, even right now, is just like, let the future go, let it unfold as it will, but stop trying to force it, stop worrying so much, and just connect with the moment, connect with those around you, and take a deep breath and know that everything is going to work out, whether that means things are going to be the way you think they might be. Doesn't matter. It just matters that things are going to unfold the way they will, and got to roll with the punches, and see what life is going to unfold as.
Definitely. Would you do anything differently?
Um, that's a great question. I think that, would I do anything differently? I don't think I would go back and make any decisions differently. I think that I would detach myself from the outcome of the decisions that I was making, trying to focus more on what's truly important to me rather than what other people thought. So really going back, I wish that I had made my decisions in accordance with like my core values and what's truly important to me, and what I know now are my true
Mm.
values, rather than at the time worrying about, well, what do people think? What are people going to say? What's my mom going to say? Am I going to make any money as a yoga teacher? What if I fail? What if I don't make it? What if, what if? Um, Making my decisions, yeah, in accordance with my values is, I think, is somewhat something that I would do differently.
Mm. Yep. Yeah, tuning into the values and yourself. It's been a big thing for me. It took me a long time to get to that place of really trusting myself and what I actually wanted rather than what I should do and what other people wanted. Yeah. And if you could remove like all barriers, all constraints, and just be known for something or work on some big project, what would you want to do?
Man, you are asking some really great questions. I think that I would love to become a yoga therapist, a certified yoga therapist that works with women that struggle with anxiety. So being able to either work one-on-one or work in groups and really like being able to create transformational change for these women so that they can lead better lives. Getting a yoga therapy certification is a lot of time and a lot of money. So, if there were no barriers, I think that would be something that I'd love to do. And then I'd love to one day train other yoga teachers to do the same, train others in the science of anxiety and yoga, and passing on my experience and tools to others so that the legacy of healing can continue.
I love that. And what's the best compliment you've ever received?
This is going to sound silly, but honestly, it probably came from my husband. He has been an instructor in the military for years now, and a couple weeks ago, he came to me after I had finished recording a yoga class, and he's like, "You are a really damn good instructor." And I'm like, "What?" Huh? He's like, the way you speak is so clear, and the way you walk your students through the class is so like, it's just so good. And getting that compliment from him, and knowing that he wasn't just blowing smoke or anything like that, knowing that he really meant it, someone that has heard me at the beginning where I was a stumbly bumbly yoga teacher that could barely overcome anxiety to get in front of a class of 2. Hearing that from him, him telling me you've gotten so good, was huge. It really made an impact on me.
That's so meaningful. I know. I feel like there's something about when you get a genuine compliment from your partner, or someone that close to you who's really seen your growth. It just, it's so meaningful, so meaningful. And what's something that your work has done for a client that you maybe didn't expect?
I think that I had one. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and she's been coming to my yoga classes for months. And for a little bit of context, when we're recording this, we're right in the middle of the COVID crisis. And she confided in me that she's been struggling with anxiety and depression as long as she can remember. And she said that, my classes and my videos on YouTube, she comes to them and does them and listens to them whenever she's just feeling really anxious or she's feeling really bad. And she told me that she always felt better even after just like a breathing exercise that I led the other night. She was like, I felt so much better after that exercise. And she wasn't someone that often came up to me after class and was like, that was a really good class, I really enjoyed it. She was kind of one of those girls that just showed up, smiled, did yoga, and left. And to hear that from someone that I thought was just kind of like lukewarm about my classes, knowing that I really was having a significant positive impact in her life, was really heartwarming and special for me, knowing that I was able to help her in that way.
Yeah, that's so lovely. And what does elevating your life and soul mean to you?
I think that elevating my life and soul to me means that I am working towards becoming the best version of myself. Working to be the best wife, the best mother, and the best not meaning being perfect, but the best just meaning I'm giving of myself to the fullest capacity because my own cup is full, knowing that I'm cared for, and I'm honoring my body and my mind, and I'm taking the time and doing the things to build myself up in such a way that I feel so full, and I have so much love and kindness and patience and compassion, and all of that stuff comes from investing in ourselves first, because when I'm not taking that kind of time, I'm not patient, I'm not kind, I'm not I'm not the best version of myself. So when I'm able to elevate myself in that way and lift myself up and pour into my own heart and spirit, I think that in turn allows me to be a better person, a better mom, and a better yoga teacher. When I'm in a better place, I am able to pour more into my students and help them more, than if I was coming from a place of depletion.
Yeah. And is there anything today that I haven't asked that you really wish that I had, or something that you're bursting to share before we close out?
I would, I think that one thing I love to share at the end of my yoga classes is that you are enough. So many people have that I'm not enough story, and so I'd love to just share with your listeners that you are enough, even if you're not in a great place, even if you are struggling with depression and anxiety right now, you are enough. And I think even if you don't believe that at first, if you start saying those affirmations to yourself, and you start making those mindset shifts, and putting those things in place to start believing that you are enough, I believe that one day people can believe that and truly believe that they are enough for this world and they are enough for themselves. And that's what I try to tell my students is, today, in this moment, you are exactly what you need to be, and you are enough.
Yeah, thank you so much. And how can people connect with you, and what do you have on offer right now?
Yeah, so on Instagram, I'm at Rolling Oaks Yoga, and on Facebook, you can find me if you search Christina Mattison Yoga. I have a Facebook group that I share a lot of yoga for working women. I specifically target working, busy, high-achieving women. So I have meditations, I have yoga classes, I have journaling prompts and mindfulness exercises. And if your listeners want to be a part of that group, I would love to have them. You can find it at facebook.com/groups/yoga for working women.
Amazing. And I'll put a link to it in the notes as well, so people can find it. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. This has been a really insightful chat, and really useful, really valuable. Some of the tips and practices you've shared, I know, are going to be so helpful for people. So really grateful for having you on here today and for you being here.
Thank you so much for having me, and for the opportunity to share with you and your listeners.
My pleasure. Have a great day.